What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Okay, we've got some big news with the Nintendo Switch 2, some topics to go over, but the system is getting even bigger, and I wanted to wait to make this video because we all know it's doing well. I've covered the stuff in Japan, but man, there are a lot of things that are happening right now that's going to snowball into 2026 that I absolutely have to talk about here. So let's just go ahead and start off here with the premise of what is going on with the stock overall in Japan, because it's really starting to flow in, and the more and more that you see on social media and on different places overall, you can see that stock is finally getting to an acceptable level in Japan. And this is one of the things that's been a challenge in that country, considering the Japanese only language model, the price of that, shipping over there, the yen versus the dollar. There's so many factors to consider, considering if you look at the West here, you can pretty much get a Nintendo Switch 2 at most places overall. So I've really been keeping track of what Japanese gamers are saying, following a few different accounts and kind of seeing what happens, because if you don't look at that stuff, it doesn't get into your algorithm. So this is just a small sample size of what I found, but I've seen hundreds of posts just like this when it comes down to people finally being able to pick up a Nintendo Switch 2 in Japan. And trust me guys, there's some other stuff that I've heard about this when it comes to official things that I will talk about in just a bit, and what this means for us as the gamers as we head into 2026. So it does seem like Japanese gamers are finally able to pick up their Nintendo Switch 2 systems. Now this is just one post, once again small sample size, but there's a lot more that are like this. And it says it was also being sold at the local Ideon. My son as well as I are both thrilled. But essentially he's saying, hey, I was finally able to just go into the store and get a Nintendo Switch 2. So his son and him are going to be able to play Pokemon Legends ZA and finally play whatever Nintendo Switch 1 games they probably have as well, local co-op, multiplayer, all that good stuff. So happy for him and his son. Now another Japanese gamer here says, got the Switch 2 console, yo. It was casually on sale at the Quijote store. I happened to stop by, LOL. So happy I could buy it at the regular price, because he's saying this because in Japan, there have been scalpers that are trying to sell it secondhand at way higher prices. And Nintendo, they've been trying to cut back on that, but you can't necessarily get everything. So it's really good to see that people are able to pick it up at the regular price. So this is what I was talking about, saying that there's still some stock issues in Japan, but they're finally starting to get more systems shipped out there since Pokemon Legends ZA has dropped and there was that explosion of 201,000 units. But what does this mean? Yes, sales are great, but overall we want to know about the games, right? What does this mean? Well, it creates a very synergetic and I would say exciting environment for Japanese developers, and that includes the biggest Japanese developers, AAA developers. It ensures that they know that they can put their games on the platform and they can invest, and people will have the system in order to pick it up. Now this is going to be very important over the next year or so, because we should be getting major announcements from pretty much every single big franchise out there when it comes to Japanese games. We already know about Resident Evil 9, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8. We already know about Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, in addition to Remake Part 3 as well. So we already know about some big stuff happening when it comes to AAA developers. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero recently came out as well, but there's going to be even more when it comes to 2026. And what I'm hearing overall from some stuff here and there is that a lot of Japanese developers want to have all of their biggest IPs with multiple titles on the Nintendo Switch 2 running well and being something that's not just a side thing, but actually being one of the main key pieces of their lineups by 2026/2027. So essentially what this means, or at least what I'm interpreting this as, is that we're probably going to see a lot more big Japanese game announcements for 2026 and 2027 when it comes to what these developers are doing. Now Sega has come out with a couple different things here and there. We've got Sonic, we've got Persona, but I do think that they are going to invest even more resources and more announcements, especially at Nintendo Directs. I think that's where we're going to see this. I think that Nintendo's going to go very hard so they don't have a little bit of the slump that they had with the Nintendo Switch 1's second year on the market, second calendar year I should say, on the market. And I think that you're going to see a lot more titles. Even just right now, we have multiple first party games set for Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo Switch 1, but then I think we're also going to get some other big announcements as well to help drive the momentum of the system, because it is a more expensive system, and of course it's going to be more challenging in this economy worldwide to sell systems overall. So I do think that Nintendo is going to have a pretty strong lineup of first-party games, and I think even a better and more bolsterous lineup of third-party titles, especially from Japanese developers, for 2026 and 2027. Now, another thing that I want to talk about, but probably in a separate video, is what Capcom is going to be doing, because people have talked about Monster Hunter Wilds versus a brand new Monster Hunter game, but I do think that they might be leaning towards just having a brand new Monster Hunter game, and that might already be in development overall. So we could maybe see an announcement. I think more sooner than later would be good, considering the tanking sales of Capcom's Monster Hunter Wilds. It's just not selling anywhere near as well as they thought that it would. I'm not sure if what Sony did in Japan with the cheaper model PlayStation and only the digital version of it, and just a number of issues when it goes to what they're trying to do in Japan compared to the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think that's going to move the needle long term overall. So I do think that Capcom absolutely wants to get that next big Monster Hunter game out on the Nintendo Switch 2 more sooner than later. I do think that we could get a Switch 2 edition update for Monster Hunter Rise in the meantime, so I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out maybe early 2026, and then an announcement of a bigger Monster Hunter game sometime in 2026, maybe 2027 it launches, but I do think it's coming more sooner and later. And once again, the sales and the amount of Japanese gamers that are able to get the system, it's all kind of flowing into the confidence that a lot of these developers are going to have to make more games on the Nintendo Switch 2, and potentially even brand new games built specifically for the system first and foremost, then of course maybe ported over to other platforms like Monster Hunter Rise was. So what do you guys think about this overall when it comes to everything that I had to say? Nintendo Switch 2, it's getting even bigger considering it's starting to do better in Japan with the stock, and of course people here in the US are starting to pick it up more as the holidays pick up and more games come out. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, in addition to Kirby Air Riders coming out, which by the way is #1 on the US eShop when it comes to pre-orders already. So I do think that game's going to do maybe better than what Kirby Air Riders did on the GameCube. So that would be great for Sakurai and his team. So what do you guys think about all of this? Let me know in the comment section below. Before we get to the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. Okay, let's get into what is happening here with third-party docks on the Nintendo Switch 2, because there's been a lot of discussion back and forth if Nintendo is intentionally bricking or blocking third-party docks from working with the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, there was some concern with the Nintendo Switch 1 that third-party docks would fry your system overall, and Nintendo would have to get orders because of this. So some people were thinking that Nintendo was intentionally blocking these third-party docks from working. Nintendo says that they are not intentionally trying to do this, and here's the breakdown from them in an official response. Nintendo Switch 2 outputs audio visuals once it detects that it is docked into the Nintendo Switch 2 dock. Nintendo Switch does the same, outputting audio visuals once it detects that it is docked into the Nintendo Switch dock. Nintendo does not have any intention to hinder or invalidate legal third-party dock compatibility. So they do say legal there. I'm not aware of any illegal Nintendo Switch 1 or Nintendo Switch 2 docks overall. So I do think it's kind of just more of like a firmware thing. There's a certain way that it works, that it communicates with the Nintendo Switch from the dock and everything. And if you don't update that, because the docks do get updates as well, and if it's not compatible with the latest thing, then it's causing some issues. I think very similar to like if you update your Windows or your PC or something, and maybe a USB doesn't work at first, and you have to download a new driver or something like that. I think it's very similar or kind of like that, and that's maybe what's causing this. I'm not a third-party dock person. I think that you should just go with the official dock. I got spooked when people were reporting that third-party docks were frying the Nintendo Switch 1s. I stopped using when I did get a third-party dock, and I had to stop using it. Now, I'm not sure if that extends to the adapters, because D-Brand does make an adapter which goes over the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, so I think that's okay. I haven't heard any reports with that from people saying it, because that's one of the more popular skin brands or shell brands out there is the D-Brand. So I do think that's okay, but yeah, just be careful with third-party docks, guys. I know that they're cheaper and they can be a bit better when it comes to certain things and maybe add extra ports or easier to travel with, but just be careful, because you never know what's going to happen there overall. And there were those reports with Nintendo Switch 1. So I'm just going to use the official dock, but I understand that people want to use a different one because the third-party docks are cheaper than Nintendo's official docks too. So what do you guys think about this report? Nintendo is apparently not blocking third-party docks. Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, let's get into the next topic here, and that is going to be Kirby Air Riders. I'm excited about this game. It is coming out next week. I'm looking forward to it, but now we actually have a file size. So if you're determining whether you're going to get this game digital or physical, you need to know this information because Kirby Air Riders is sized up at 21.7 gigabytes. So it's just using a fraction of that 64 gigabyte cartridge if you are getting it physical. But the big thing about the Nintendo Switch 2, which I always harp on when people say that Nintendo should have done this whole situation with having it install off of the cartridge like Xbox and PlayStation. And while yes, that would be great for some people who are the purists and of course collecting games and having it all on there, what I don't like about that is because it's not real actual physical media like we had it growing up, at least like how I had it growing up. Some of you guys maybe grew up in the PS4 and Xbox One era where you're installing everything, or maybe you're a PC gamer. But for me, I like to where it plays off of that and it does not take the memory that it uses. It does not use that for your system. So if you buy a physical game, it plays off of the cartridge. Yes, physical media is slower. Yes, you get a big advantage if you're playing the same Kirby Air Riders game in terms of the load times. Most games will load faster, more like it, on the flash memory on the Nintendo Switch 2 or on an express SD card. Yes, that is true. If I'm going to buy a physical game, I don't want it to install to something. I don't want it to install to a hard drive and then have the disc just be a verification check. I want it to actually play off of there like my Super Nintendo cartridges or like my other cartridges that I had growing up back in the day, the NES cartridge, all that stuff. Even like the discs with the PS1, they played off of that. So that's kind of how I see it. But I do think that Kirby Air Riders is a very good digital game because it's not too heavy on the size, 21.7 gigabytes. So it's not like it's 40, 50, or 60 gigabytes overall. So it's not going to be too much space on your hard drive. In addition to that, it's one of those games that you're probably going to go back to at random times. You're probably not just going to be playing it 24/7, maybe when your friends get together, local co-op, whatever the case is. So it might be a good game to just have digitally ready to go at any point instead of having to have the cartridge around. Instead, you can just access that. So I kind of do that with a lot of my multiplayer games. I have it to where if it's like Super Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, I like those digital. I play those so kind of like far apart and I don't have to worry about grabbing the cartridge because it's kind of random when I play them. But I think that it's not too bad overall. It's right around the size of Mario Kart World as well, and there's a ton of content packed into this and people are enjoying the Kirby Air Ride demo as well. I played in it. It was pretty fun. So what do you guys think about Kirby Air Riders and the file size? Do you plan on picking this one up, digital or physical? If you are getting it, let me know in the comment section below. All right, we are going to move on to the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop charts as well, and we got more stuff to talk about when it comes to Kirby Air Riders because that is taking over overall. The eShop charts are interesting because Nintendo has higher sell-throughs when it comes to digital sales than ever before, than they did in any other era when they started doing digital sales. So it is a significant factor overall with their game sales, and Kirby Air Riders is right there at the top. Now, one thing that the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop does that's a bit different is that they actually count it as total revenue for the past 3 days, not necessarily total units sold, but total revenue. So of course, higher price titles that are selling at a decent clip are going to be higher up. So you're going to see a lot of the best games overall instead of just the cheapest games that are selling a ton of copies but really just being discounted, and all the slop that we saw sometimes on the Nintendo, and all like the shovelware that we saw sometimes on the Nintendo Switch 1. So usually you're getting a lot of good games here. A lot of the top quality games are going to be on the top 15 overall, and now they've actually expanded it to the top 30. It was top 15 beforehand, but now it's top 30. So we're seeing a lot more titles here. But yeah, Kirby Air Riders is in at number 1, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment in at number 2, Pokemon Legends ZA, Inazuma 11. That's a new one that just came out if you have like the digital deluxe edition and all of that. So very good. Donkey Kong Bonanza, great games. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So there's a lot more titles coming out. There's a lot of Japanese titles that are kind of coming in here as well with Inazuma 11 and also Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. You're going to see even more. You have the Kiwami remakes as well, the bundles. So it's just good to see more titles kind of flowing in, and it's cool to just see what people are actually playing on the system overall and what games are popular. So I'm looking forward to Kirby Air Riders. I think it's going to be great. I'm playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment right now, and it is phenomenal. I'm having a ton of fun with that, and I beat Pokemon Legends ZA recently, and the ending sequence to that was crazy. I like that game quite a bit. So a lot of good stuff that's happening. We still got more games coming up. Metroid Prime 4 is going to be in a couple weeks as well. So exciting times for the end of the year. And of course, I'll have my evaluation, my top 10 games, and all of that stuff with the Nintendo Switch 2 after I'm done with Metroid Prime 4 in December. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to everything that we talked about here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.